Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be going over Gold Mythic Akira, doing a little starter guide on this character as he has been made a little bit of available to free to play, and I have actually seen quite a lot of people asking for kind of content on this character basically, and I thought I'd just throw this out there. Now I have done a preview of this character when he first came out, of course you can go check that out, but I also have done a why you should pick up Akira even if it's just one copy video, and I just show how he basically works as a one copy character. That could also be quite interesting to you if you haven't actually had a chance to use Akira before. You should see a link to that in the top right hand corner. In this video we're going to be going over what skills are worth upgrading on this character, as well as the kind of combat mods and weapon ideas I have had when it comes to building my Akira, and I would say he's very good in the teams I've got, so I'm very happy with how I built him. Now, when it comes to his skills, and something I do break down in that why even one copy of, Akira is going to be good, is because the ability Burning Command, you can fully max out at grade 3. You get the first half of it at grade 1, the second half of it at grade 3, fully maxed out, and it isn't based on his attack, it's based on the entire team's attack, and he's not really going to be actually adding that much attack to an attack team, because he's more of a support character. He's still relying on those damage dealers to do that, the leader to give the leader bonus, so on and so forth. So that's why the one copy is good, but you also want to max this out very quickly. This is definitely the big one. Cunning isn't as important because he's on a defense team and he isn't going to be attacking super often. He might get attacked, but again, it's not going to proc too often. Ready for death at the start of each turn. A random teammate gets 50% halo for 2 turns. Obviously, if you get that up to maxed out, it is 100% chance, and that is very useful. It doesn't always go to the character you wish it would. For instance, I wish it actually did prioritize characters that had the lowest HP, which were more likely to be able to get taken out, but it doesn't do that. But it can obviously proc. It can give it to him, it can give it to other people. It's very nice. Sharpen Mind at the start of each turn. One other teammate gets 100% attack for 1 turn. This is just good to buff his own burn when it comes to the team-based attack. Again, definitely max this out. Cunning's the only one out of his passives which you do not have to max out as a priority. Save some resources if you really need to, or if you are lacking resources, that's the last one to upgrade for sure. Definitely, the Burning Command is the way to go first. Now, when it comes to the combat mods of Akira, while his defensive stats are very heavy, he can't realistically be used on a defense team because he doesn't have much in his kit that is actually going to boost anything defensively unless he commands, and command doesn't really work very well on defense teams for whatever reason. It's been kind of semi-broken for like a couple of years, honestly. Since the Mythic era, I think the OG Rick, the first command in the Mythic era never really worked, and they never fixed it. So it's just always been not very good. That's kind of just how it is. So what I do is I just build heavy amounts of HP on this character, so he can take things like main damage, he can take things like burn, bleed, little bits of that, and massive amounts of health pool is generally a good way to go. Now, because this character is an attack team character and we're giving him HP, it's absolutely fine to prioritize a platinum mod on him and give your best mods, if you've got any Paragon HP on HP mods, to your defense team characters who do need every single percentage a lot more. When it comes to the defense versus, I would do defense versus fast here because he is a tough character, so he's obviously going to take fast damage a bit harder. Again, you want to probably prioritize a mod that is not Paragon, because again, it's much better in the hands of a defense team character because they need, like I say, all the percentage you've got. So it doesn't really matter which one it is, as long as it's a reasonably high percentage, mid 40s, absolutely fine, and we'll just lock that in, and that's just going to give him a little bit of a boost to the defense when he gets attacked. He doesn't do any damage. His attack stat isn't going to get boosted anyway by this top right hand corner slot to boost that burn anyway. So it's just better to increase his survivability for sure. Now, the resist mods on Akira are quite important to get right for you. He is a support character, so you ever want to use him against teams with Princess in, although she does have burn bleed resistance, so not necessarily the best teams to use him against. But you would 100% have to have taunt resist on this character in that case. Obviously, this is where you would want to try and use your best mods like Paragons and stuff. He doesn't need daze resist. His signature move is okay. It is an impair for the end of until the end of combat, but it isn't like 100% required. It's actually nicer for him to command off of turn 1 to get that burn to actually proc. Now, when it comes to resist, like I say, anything that just stops him from being able to take his turn is nice. Any debilitating, so you can throw in like a stun resist, a taunt resist, or I would say a confuse resist. You want 2 of those 3 realistically. Impair resist isn't that big a deal, and like I say, daze resist isn't that big a deal. He can still do his command, which is, like I say, he can still do quite a lot of damage by doing that. It is nice if he rushes. I guess depending on what the meta issue is at the time, or what, like, if you find yourself consistently getting, you know, confused, throw a confuse resist on this character. But we're probably going to double up on resist anyway, so getting 2 of those 3 that I said, taunt, confuse, and stun, generally isn't a bad way to go. But if he's in a team where he's getting focus, then he won't necessarily need taunt or confuse resist, so that could actually be pretty useful. Now in the bottom right hand corner, as he's not going to be attacking too often, no on attack things like bleed and burn are going to be that useful for him. Obviously, he's not going to have high attack stat anyway. I just give him graze. Again, just to increase his survivability, just give him the highest percentage graze that you have in Platinum. He's more of a Platinum mod character on an attack team, just because, like I say, he's using those defensive mods, but you don't want to prioritize the best ones on this character. And again, that's just going to increase his survivability. If you did want to, you know, put him on a defense team, then he could easily be switched there because he's already got defensive mods on him. But like I said before, not really a good idea just based on how it works. Now this last mod is pretty much up to you. I would say going for another resist is good. I would say in this case, taunt or confuse resist would be good. But if he was getting focus in the fight, you could go for like impair resist instead. You could maybe go for crosshairs resist. I don't know, like if you've got some niche usage against certain teams that does crosshair and you want to actually utilize his revive a little bit more. Generally speaking, he's not a good character, or like the teams he's in are not good for like 2 long-lasting fights. You want them to be over in like 4 turns, 5 turns max. Burn bleed teams are about setting up and hitting auto and just getting that burn bleed out and just moving on as quickly as possible. And Akira does definitely help doing that. But you need to be able to do his kit. I will say that. You will need to be able to do his kit. So, like I say, taunt or confuse, I'll put one of those 2 in. But if you have the focus in the fight somewhere, then you want to go with something else. Maybe like impair or daze. That the signature isn't terrible. You can use it on an Outlast character, for instance, and they will be taken out and not be able to do their actual adrenaline rush because they've been impaired like before they got taken out. But I'm going to use taunt resist. As you can see, this is just, like I said, quite a basic setup, making him more defensive, a bit more survivability. His HP's gone up by about 20k or so, and that's just off base. He will get a boost from his weapon as well, and his weapon is actually quite important to get right, but I'd say going more defensive on the mods, doubling down on resistance is very good. He generally won't get focused too much, but he might be the last character alive, and then he pops his adrenaline rush. He'll obviously be able to revive a couple of characters with their max AP, so him being able to survive and actually being able to take his turn is quite important. Now, if we check out the base weapon of Akira, his base weapon is actually pretty interesting, because when he gets attacked, he'll just be healing other characters and healing people based on how many negative effects he has on himself, which can be good if you're coming up against infection maybe, but it isn't a massive amount of heal on that, and the infections can be pretty big these days, so I did switch this out. I thought this was an interesting weapon. You could just go for like 55% HP if you're not really got too many weapon choices, and that's it. But however, I did craft quite a basic weapon in the armory with just basic upgrades, nothing too special, and this is the weapon I came up with. And it is this weapon right here. The weapon base, Hunter's Sniper Rifle, is actually just a base weapon from the 4-star token wheel, so nothing too crazy. You could probably get any sort of HP-based tough weapon in the game, but it starts off with 30% HP. The huge bonus to AP when being attacked, I actually got inspiration from Man on the Moon about this, because I was struggling to actually get the adrenaline rush off on Akira, but he was getting attacked from time to time, and this will make it so that if he's the last character alive, he's got more chance of getting that adrenaline rush off quicker. So that's actually quite nice. And in the 3rd slot, he'll boost someone's attack by 40% off of turn 1. Now this sometimes doesn't work, because sometimes he'll give the character 40% and then also give them 100%, and obviously the 100% overrides the 40%. But if he gives 2 separate characters an attack buff, then he's going to be boosting the damage output that he's going to be doing with that burn off of turn 1. So effectively, while that 40% is a boost to someone else, it actually kind of is a boost to him. It's boosting his own burn damage output pretty much because it's based on his attack team's overall stat there. So that's actually pretty important. In the 4 slot, we have at the start of every turn, apply 35% heal reduction to all enemies for 1 turn. This is again from the armory. This is amazing if you're going to use characters like Mirabelle or Eva and Ghost in the team with him, because they get bonuses based on negative effects on the enemy's characters and teams. And you can use Eva and Ghost as your like only real hitter who has like a ransack weapon, which I do, and the rest of the characters are built for like burn bleed, which I will show you a team that I do with that. And this is really nice for buffing the damage output for Eva and Ghost, because she's going to lose a bit because she's got ransack, but she'll gain a little bit back because she's got this. So this weapon kind of all around is like buffing his own survivability with HP, increasing the possibility of him rushing quicker, gigging other characters up if needed, with the huge bonus to AP when being attacked. Random bonus attack is just like I say, boosting his own burn damage, but if it lands on the right characters, also boosting their damage output. And then, like I said, the heal reduction is just nice as well, because they do obviously heal less, but you can boost certain characters based on their kits too. So here we are coming up against the defense team, and I will say using Akira in raids is very difficult, because especially if you're trying to target certain teams like Davey teams, which he is actually generally good at, you know, taking out in war. In raids, you don't know if there's a stars there. If there's a stars there, there's resist everywhere. Very problematic indeed. Now, what you can do is you can just command with Akira straight away, and what will happen is you won't lose the turn on anybody, and it will apply a burn to everybody on the defense team. As you can see, we have got 44k burn on everybody. We did get the 100k and the 40k attack proc on 2 separate characters here, which is obviously very nice. And then we can just like try and control and deal with any characters on the defense team which are going to be slightly problematic in any way. You know, Eva and Ghost is very nice combo, in my opinion, with Akira. She is going to lose quite heavy damage based on the way her kit works when it comes to using a ransack weapon, but it does make up for it a little bit with all the negative status effects that we just did apply, because we obviously got bleed on everyone, burn on everybody, we had heal reduction on everybody. Big, you know, difference there. I'm going to just get some more burn off, and this is something I like to do if my character does resist the stun, which she did. I can command her, and now off turn 2, I doubled the burn on this character. I can now double it on this character afterwards, which is actually kind of cool. Which is actually kind of cool indeed. And maybe we'll just try and one-shot. Absolute defended? You know it is. You know it's an absolute defense. You know it's an absolute defense. Great game mechanic. Great game mechanic. And then any heals that come from the defending team will be reduced because of the weapon he's got as well. So characters like Nor, you'll heal reduce them, you know, do heal reduction on them, and they won't heal as heavily as well. Now, obviously, if you come up against a Davey team in war and you see they don't have a stars, this is where it could be very useful to attack this sort of team. We can obviously hit it up with Rosita this time around, a bit more accessible than Eva and Ghost. If you have the ransack weapon on her, she can just go round stealing the the actual buff that they've got on them, which is Halo and apply heal reduction, which is just very nice indeed. And then something that I do is pretty simple, because I've got Zachary in here for the bleed. I do a basic attack with Zachary, and then I just command Zachary. If I don't command at the beginning of the fight, if I'm not sure what I'm going to do, sometimes I might want to command if I take someone out because of Trader, to actually command his Confused, that sort of thing. So there are definitely options, and then what we will basically do is we control the problematic characters, and then the burn and bleed should get the job done pretty well here, because they've got a lot of heal reduction on them, because the bleed obviously and burn stack together, the amount of damage it can do. They've got the heal reduction, so none of this is going to get healed up, which is, like I say, very nice. Then we can do the little strategy that I showed you before. We actually did get normalized, I think, on Akira. He is indeed normalized, so his command did not work. We'll try and hit a heal reduction here. We did, and we should have 3 or 4 characters taken out here. Okay, it can go like that too. Now with this build, you can also just put Akira on your normal attack team and having him as a command character and see the burn as a bonus. The burn output will be higher, generally speaking, off of actual like the initial proc, because you will have better overall attack team setup. The team setup that I had in those clips before was a bit more support based, so not as high attack stat overall, and that's why that 40% attack boost on the weapon comes in very nicely. But it's even better if you have him in a massive stacked attack team with huge like 140 to 150k attack characters. The amount of burn output that he's going to do on that passive is going to be huge. You just got to make sure you have the right setup, because you saw when characters get taken out, they go into outlast, so on and so forth, it could be problematic. So you've got to make sure you have controllers in place to actually stop that thing from actually occurring. Akira, a great character, even from grade 4, which only requires 1 copy. I definitely would recommend him from the crate that is in the roadmap right now if you want to pick him up. This is my little starter guide on him though, guys. If you have any thoughts on Akira and how you'd like to build him, let me know in the comments down below. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.